It's finally time. I'm actually doing this today, and it's actually embarrassingly overdue. I can't believe it's been over a year now since I moved into this craft space. Time flies when you're having fun. It doesn't seem like that long ago that I was unpacking boxes and working out where everything was going to live. I've had lots of time to create in the space, and I now know what's working and what's not. This is a real working craft room, and I'm in this space every single day. And that's kind of the problem. I've been so busy crafting, working on some special projects behind the scenes, that tidying up just hasn't happened. Exhibit A. Embarrassing, right? Today feels like the perfect day for a reset. And if your craft room needs one too, we can work on it together. A craft space is meant to inspire you, and you shouldn't be spending more time looking for supplies than actually creating with them. I have a list of things I want to tackle today, and I hope you'll keep me company. Come see what's working and help me fix what's not. And if your craft room needs a reset, even a small one, let's work on it together. I think you're going to love the organisation ideas I share today. So first things first, let me get everything back where it belongs. Much better. I now have a clean slate and I can get into this organising. The very first job I want to do today is to sort my journal say supplies. Currently I have them stored in several of these plastic boxes, but what I found is when I'm creating, I'm looking more for a theme of supplies, and I don't always want to dive deep into all of these boxes to find what I'm looking for. So as things are right now, I don't have any real rhyme or reason to any of the boxes. So I just have several of these, and I have filled them up as I have bought supplies from Journal Say. And I do have another box coming, and these totes are full, and I'm finding that this storage method isn't very helpful. When I go to look for something, I have to look through all the boxes and I don't really know where things are. So I got a new storage solution for these supplies, and I want to convert all of those into the new storage. This is the new storage system, and what I want to do is categorize things into themes so that I don't have to look through all of my supplies. I can go straight to the box that's that theme and pull from there. What I do need to sort yet is what the themes will be. So I am going to sort all that out and then go from there. The other thing that I'm just thinking of now is that not all of the supplies are going to obviously either fit in here. That's not the best way to have a lot of these washi tapes and PET tapes and things. So I am still going to have one of the larger totes, but I think for all of the smaller embellishments, all of these little embellishments, I think that'd just be so much better inside these containers and then categorized in some way. The other thing I need to think about is if I'm going to keep the packaging. The only thing that's sort of making me think perhaps yes is that sometimes you will ask me, what a packet of supplies is, and I need to know that to be able to give you the link. Having said that, the stock at Journal Say does change a lot. They don't keep the same things in, so it changes all the time, and often I can't link to exactly the right product because it's been and gone. So anyway, I will have a think about all of that. I will have a think about my categories, and then I will go through the boxes and get all this sorted and show you what's left. Okay, so there are many things that won't fit into those containers, but what I will do is I will consolidate the boxes so that at least I'll have fewer of those and then all of the larger supplies in together. I do really like to keep all of the same products together. So for example, all of the paper packs together, perhaps all the sticker books together, washi tape together. I think it's a good way to store things for a couple of reasons. Firstly, you can see how much of something you have. So it's very easy to see if you have a bunch of paper pads. Kind of reminds you not to buy more because you know how many you have. But also, I create like that. So the first step would be to look for papers for a spread. So I know that I could go to this one place and look through all of my papers. So that is now all of the supplies from Journal Say in one box. That's good. And then all of the rest, all of the things that I have removed from the boxes are all of these PET stickers and die cuts, which are the ones that are going to go into the other container. I don't know if I should keep that. I think I will for now. Let's just see if I can get all of the houses into one of these boxes. Do I have any more? No, but I do have some of these mixed media paint splatters, so I'll grab a box for those. I think the biggest amounts of boxes is actually going to be botanicals and florals. But as I'm creating, I would definitely be looking for these kind of elements as I'm building my background. I also have these. They're pretty, aren't they? They've got like this gold fleck in them. Here's some more. Now, I also do have a box of Christmas things, which is another separate tote. I have kept all of my Journal Say Christmas things in one spot, and I have actually forgotten that I had this book. So I'll put that in with those. And I do have these Christmas stickers, but I think I might do a cube of Christmas for these as well. So let me do that because I've got a few of those and I know I'm going to get more. Christmas is always something that I have a lot of. See, there's these ones as well that are Christmas. Yeah, see, I don't need this big packet for just these little stickers here. Let me grab a box. Okay, so that's all those. I love the idea of being able to just flick through all of these like this. I think I'm going to enjoy that far more than I will flicking through separate packets trying to see what I have. And more, and even more. Okay, I don't need any more Christmas PET stickers, do I? And now all of this can go in the bin. Here's another one with houses. These are die cuts rather than stickers, but that's okay. They're going to go in this same box. I definitely will need one for flowers, so I might get that happening. This is actually paper, so I'm going to put that with the paper. I think I'm done with these paint splatters. I really love these florals. I've used several of these already. They are beautiful. I love how big they are. Look at that. They're so nice. Here's some more. These are florals too. I think I might do a PET floral and then a paper floral because I know I'm going to have a lot. I also know I'll want butterflies. I do have a couple of packs of butterflies, and I'm pretty sure I will go looking for those. So they can go in there. Butterflies slash moths. Maybe I should call it insects, perhaps. Might be better. These are fruit. Am I going to have enough fruit for its own container? Don't know about those. What is this? This is like a mixed embellishment kit. See, for these, part of me thinks this one's going to be better to be separated all out. So for example, there's floral. So I should put them in with the florals, because I'm not going to go looking in here specifically for flowers. There's some butterflies. More florals. So then I need one for, maybe I could do one for like tags and tickets. And then I can put all of these kinds of things in them. And I do have a lot of that sort of stuff. This then here is paper. So that I'm going to put with all of the other paper that I have. Or I might even, you know what, I might get a little one of these and put the small sheets of paper in that too. I feel like that could work, because there are going to be times when I do just want like the little bits of paper. These can be tags and tickets as well. So that's that one. I think these now could probably go in with tags and tickets. I'm glad I got this really big container, because now I have lots of different options for lots of different categories. Let's put these all in together. They call them wood chips, embossed stickers. Oops. Oh. Man down. There was this one. So I have them in pink as well. Doesn't mean that this container is just going to have these, but I'm thinking maybe round elements. Maybe I could put buttons and things, anything round in there. Do you know what? For now, I might keep these in a separate container, because I have that as an option. I've got enough of these for this to have its own. It doesn't have to be perfect forever. It just has to work for now. So for now, I am loving this as fruit. I'm just not sure when I'm creating. I'm thinking about what I would be looking for as I create, and I'm not sure fruit is going to be that. I'm not sure I'm going to be like, what pictures, what elements do I have that are fruit? But that's okay. And then lucky last is the pets. So I will get those into another one of these, and then label this all up and show you the end result. So here's what it looks like now, and it's already feeling really, really good. I've got two lots of florals. Even though I don't need it yet, I know that that's going to be one of the categories that I'll have a lot of things in. I also did do an other, just so that I had a random spot for things. I still do have some options for growth. There is still three empty ones, and none of these are crazy full. So I like how this is feeling. I feel like it's something I am going to grow into, but it's a way that I can sort and contain all of those journal say supplies. So I'm off to a cracking start. That's the first thing ticked off my list. Yay! If you're already enjoying this video and feeling motivated, hit that subscribe button like a sticker to a scrapbook so you'll never miss what's next. And if you happen to have a crafty friend with a messy craft room, hit share and send this video their way. Now, I have not forgotten about the cupboard door debate that we all had in my last craft room tour video. So many comments and so many thoughts. I'll get to that later on in the video and explain exactly why I made the decision I did. So this is my next job. These are color combination swatches. So whenever I create a card, if I'm going through my acrylic markers and I'm combining colors and I come up with a combination that I really like, I have been recording it. And to date, I've just been finding a scratch piece of paper and recording it down on that, and then placing this inside of the storage with the markers themselves. But moving forward, I wanted to have a central place where I could put all of the different mediums. So I wanted to have the acrylic markers with the paint markers, with the stamp pads, and I want there to be just one place I can go if I'm looking for a pretty color combination and I don't have time to sort of figure it out as I go. I want to use something that's already worked in the past. So I came up with this idea. This is a visual arts diary, and I actually had one of these when I was in high school doing year 11 and 12 art, and it was a book that was intended to be drawn or created in every day whenever inspiration hit. It was certainly not something that was meant to be a finished art piece or anything perfect, and I really like the idea of this. I like that this could be a diary and a record of color combos rather than a perfectly swatched and recorded color palette of sorts. Now, I do know there are color swatch books that will do this, but I don't want this to be perfect by any means, and I don't want to have to worry about leaving enough space to have all of the acrylic markers together and then like a separate area for watercolors. I just want one simple, easy place that I can add these all to so that this little piece of paper doesn't get lost. And then if I'm looking for inspiration, I can just flick through the book and see what pops up in my mind, see what appeals right at the time, and then go from there. So with that said, I don't even think I'm going to start on the first page. I think I'll start maybe here. And I'm just going to record them. I'm going to record the ink pads next to the acrylic markers. I'm not going to separate things out, and I'm going to leave space as well because I think I'd like to do even some test stamps when I buy a new stamp, add in a stamped image here, maybe even swatch out some pens. I'm not sure. This is going to be living and breathing and evolving as we go, but to start, it will just be a record of some color combos that I really want to keep. So let's get into that. I'll just start at the beginning, hey? These are my two sets of alcohol markers. They're both from Ohuhu. I do also have some Copic alcohol markers, and at some point I probably will add all of these in with the Copic ones and have all of my alcohol markers in together. But for now, they're just in their sets. Now, I'm not sure which set is which, so I will need to check both. And that is another good reason to combine all the colors. But for now, I have been doing a little bit of sponsored work with Ohuhu. So I do want to keep these separate just because it's much easier to know which markers I can use for which videos. So here's the first lot. Let's just add them in. I have a feeling these are going to bleed through. Let's see. Yeah, there is. That's okay. We'll deal with that. R22, R013, and E05. And then we have this one. They are really soaking into the paper. So what I may end up doing is only doing it on this side so that any bleed through I can just ignore from the other side. So I'm just now going to rinse and repeat until all of these are in here. So that's all of the alcohol markers done. I have the stamp pads and the acrylic markers to go. So I might as well get started on those now too. So here are my acrylic markers. These ones in particular are from Artex. I do have some from Journal Say as well, but I know that this little color combo here was from this set, and 64 here. One. I will need some water for these and a paint palette. I like the order of this. I think that's really pretty. So we'll do it in the same order. I love that. That's so pretty. So I'll wait for that to dry, and in the meantime I will pull out my ink pads. I think what I also want to do is just do a line of each of the colors not as watercolor, just like this maybe, so that I can see what they would look like straight out of the pen. Just need to be sure that I'm adding the right one. 414. This book is actually not the best for these. I can see how the paper, because it's wet. I should have been more patient. That's okay. Why is it okay? Because this book's not perfect. And I am totally okay with that. So lucky last, one set of inks. Let's find these. Okay, so this now becomes a work in progress, something that I add to all the time whenever I want to record any kind of color combo, or I want to test a new stamp or anything like that. This is going to be the book for that. This next job is a quick one. It's time for a craft supply shuffle. Little to the left, little to the right. The first thing I need to do is remove all of these thickers from this drawer, and as luck would have it, they will fit perfectly into the drawer directly below it. With that done, I'm now going to add in all of my alcohol and acrylic markers into this space. They had outgrown their previous space, and I really do want to keep them all together, and they'll fit in here perfectly. I've linked everything I've mentioned today in the description box below, including my most favorite storage options and some free resources. There is a whole playlist linked that will help you reset and reorganize your space. If you have any questions at all, be sure to leave them in the comments, because I read every single one. Moving on to my next task, which starts with these very cute baskets from Kmart. I actually had to go back and get an extra one of these because my cat has decided that one of them is his now. Lucky he's cute. I want to use these baskets to store my card making supplies. So essentially the stamp, die and stencil sets that I use quite a lot, and any of my favourite embossing folders. This is a really new storage system for me, and because I haven't tried and tested it, I do want to set it up as inexpensively as possible. So that's why I've gone to Kmart for the baskets. And for the dividers, I'm actually using these super cheap ones from Amazon. My plan is to test it out with these, and if I really like the system and it's working for me, then I can upgrade it to something a little bit prettier and perhaps a little bit more expensive. I've cut them down with my paper trimmer and they now fit perfectly into the basket, so it's now time to start sorting and organising these supplies. So there are a couple of ways I can go about this. Initially, I thought I might sort these by type. So stamp and stencil sets together, and then perhaps all of my sentiments together. Then I went back to how I create and what I think about as I'm mid-project. And I know myself and I like to create using the same brand of things. I really do rely quite heavily on the way that a brand puts their products together. So I know myself that if I'm creating with a Pink Fresh Studio stamp, chances are good that I'm going to want to use their other products for that project. So based on all of that, I'm actually going to sort these by manufacturer. Now, if you don't create in the same way that I create, and you're much more likely to go looking for a specific product, then sort by product. There really are no rules, so do what's best for you. So here's the end result. I have everything sorted by brand. I did actually just go ahead and do the main brands, and then I now have this section here for other. I do have quite a lot of sets that come from lots of different brands over the years, so they weren't enough to put in their own category, so I've just popped them all together here at the back. I've made sure to include my favorite brands at the front, and I will go ahead actually and sort these a little further and pop, say, all of the sentiments together. So I will do that. I did at this stage just want to make sure that this system would work and that it would fit in these baskets and that I'm happy with it. The one thing that I do really like about this is that it will grow with my collection, and I can switch out these tags at any time. So if I decide to store things by type, so have a tag for sentiments, have a tag for background stamps, I can switch it out and store them like that. But for now, I am really focused on using things by brand. It's how I've always scrapbooked as well. So I think this is going to work just great. Here they are in position. I am just going to run them against this wall here for now. I am thinking about getting a unit to go up against this window and run along this section. But for now, they are just on the floor there. And yes, this one here, that's for my cat. Next, I want to show you my brand new way to store scraps of coloured cardstock. I've been using this system for about 8 months now. It's tried and tested and I love it. I've purchased a bunch of these plastic containers that just so happen to fit perfectly into my IKEA storage here. So I've stacked them all up and then punched with a paper punch a heart shape in each of the colours of the rainbow. I do still have 3 left here. One of these will end up being black, and then I think extras of popular colours, probably I would say maybe pink and or yellow. I do keep them organised in rainbow order because I love how it's pretty and practical. Looks really good in my calyx unit here too. Really nice and clean and tidy. And my cardstock is super easy to access. I know this video has been a long one, so I do hope you've been organising or crafting along with me. I do quickly want to show you a couple of other things, and then we need to talk about the cupboard door. Welcome to my reset craft room. If you watched my first craft room tour, you'll notice that the biggest change is this wall here. This wall was always IKEA units, but the first lot I had were all different sizes. So this top section was not nice and level like it is now. What I wanted to achieve was one even top level surface that I could use to display things that inspire me. That includes my own layouts and papercraft projects, but also my love of vintage things. I just love adding vintage finds to my own papercraft projects. Corners like this in my space really do inspire me. You'll notice too that I've gone with very plain organisation. I do really love these clear white containers. A lot of those are from IKEA, but they're very easy to find in other stores like Kmart. They all go together really, really beautifully, and I love the mix of the pretty vintage patterns with the more subtle and balanced plain patterns for my storage. I have zoned the space wherever possible. So for example, in these two boxes here, that's all of my card making supplies. So my embossing powders, my inks, all of those things for card making are in those two boxes. I also have heaps and heaps of these. These are 13 by 13 inch envelopes by Avery Elle, and I have been collecting them over the years, and they house all of my favorite scrapbook collections. So all of these ones are Pink Fresh Studio, and then I have some more down here. I even managed to find a few of these extra envelopes just recently. They can be tricky to find, so I did order a few extras so that I have space to grow. I also want to show you these things here. These are actually shelf dividers. They're like a plastic shelf divider, and they're really good for holding the paper upright and supporting those envelopes. Without those in there, they can become a little bit flimsy. They flop around too much, but these plastic things support the pockets, and I just picked them up from Amazon. I will link them below. So this is where everything to do with my Sizzix lives. So I have my Better Press plates and all of my other sandwich plates for my Sizzix machine. Yes, my Sizzix is a fold away, but I cannot for the life of me pull the boards out to make it fold away. So fortunately, I can just adjust the handle and then it does fit into this box. Beside that, I do have my larger Sizzix dies, the ones that cut fabric, and then my embossing folders. Now these are not all of my embossing folders. These are kind of the older ones, the oddbod ones that I don't use very often. My new most favorite embossing folders are in those baskets that I sorted earlier on in the video. This drawer here houses my Canon selfie printer and my backup paper. This one is all things Christmas, so papers and supplies that are only useful for Christmas pages, very specific themed. In this drawer here, I have my punch boards and my stamping platforms. I do have quite a few of these, and I just stack them up on top of each other. Obviously, the ones towards the top are the ones I use the most. This drawer is for paints. So this is my favorite ceramic paint palette and all of my watercolor paints. And I am quietly obsessed with watercolor. It's something that I've always wanted to do more of and just haven't got there. One day. And here are some more. These ones are like pretty metallic ones, all of the ones from Prima, and a bunch of shimmers. These are filled with scrapbook layouts, just standing upright. Some of them are in plastic, most of them are not. And they are just stored in there rather than in albums. This is a much more economical way to store them, and when you have hundreds and hundreds of layouts, I found it works really well for me. So that's those. I do also have lots of albums filled with layouts. I would probably have so many that I could fill up one of these entire units, and I just don't like the look of that. So I found that the box method works really, really well. The other thing you might be surprised by is that some of these boxes are actually completely empty. I do actually like to keep my inventory for paper crafting quite low. I think on a scale for a so-called professional paper crafter, my stash isn't actually the biggest. Moving on to this drawer, this has some goodies from Hip Kit Club. I have just kept them separate because I was doing some work for them. This is a drawer of random pretty bowls, and this one actually I got very recently. How pretty is that? Here's another pretty box of layouts. These ones are a little more protected, some are not. Some are in Ziploc bags with then a chipboard piece at the back. Down the bottom here, I have all of my paper punches, and I do just pop them into this box. I literally, when I'm done with them, just throw them in here. This is all adhesive, glue, and tape. And in here are all of my paper crafting and craft books, along with all of the bracelets we collected at the Taylor Swift concert. Here's where I keep all of my scraps of cardstock. And in these containers here, these are a bunch of embellishments. They are separated. So this first box, for example, is sparkles and enamel dots. And then there's other boxes like chipboard, just random bits and pieces. Here are all of my acrylic markers. I just moved these here in the craft supply shuffle. And then in this drawer are all of my current thicker letters. So the thickers that I used to use a lot on my scrapbook layouts. This is a random box of note packs. I do collect note packs, I don't know why. And then behind them is a bunch of card making supplies. This sort of is overflow from the other section. I probably should shuffle these as well. These bottom two drawers here in the corner are all actually fabric and sewing type supplies for when I do slow stitch or if I want to add fabric onto a papercraft project. So lots of bits and pieces and random things in there. And then this one has like my sewing kit, and this is all of my DMC thread. Fun fact, most of this I've actually picked up thrifting. This next drawer is overflow. This is some ribbon for my sewing projects as well. And then there is my button collection because I am obsessed with buttons. So I have two of these containers all sorted, and yeah, I actually love these. These bring me so much joy. Aren't they pretty? I love those containers. There's a couple of doilies and some patterns underneath there as well. This is the overflow box. I have promised myself that I will keep all of the sewing and fabric bits and pieces contained to these three boxes here. So that's the main wall of my space, and where most of my supplies are. I do have this section over here though. This is where I store all of my washi tapes, and I am containing them to those two containers. And then here are my two silhouette machines. This entire cabinet was actually custom made for me by a local cabinet maker, and I wanted him to create a space that not only stored my two silhouette machines, but also had a lot of storage. So this is one big drawer full of storage with a random Labubu in it. And then down the bottom here is where I keep a lot of my scrapbook collections. So I purchased a bunch of these plastic boxes, and I gave him one of them to use to measure. And the idea was that I wanted to be able to access supplies in these bottom boxes without having to lift all of these other ones up and off the stack. So each of the boxes does slide out independently, almost like drawers, I guess. and I can fill them up with lots and lots and lots of goodies and very easily get access to all of them. I do store most of my supplies by manufacturer. So many of these are Cocoa Vanilla Studio and Maggie Holmes. This section here, super boring because it's where I store all of my stationery and office supplies. To counterbalance all of that negative, boring, businessy stuff, I have my favorite wall of the room. These are all of my vintage plates and my paintings that I've bought from Wendy Brightbill. I just love her work. It's all so, so beautiful. Fun fact, she used to actually be part of the papercraft community. She made stencils for a brand, I think it was Stencil Girl, but since has moved on and does all of her own artwork. She has a YouTube channel as well. I'll link it below. And here is my beautiful wall of cards, which didn't start out as a plan. I was just making cards and then one day thought, where can I put these to keep them safe? And started adding them to the wall. And now the wall's really full. So I am going to start sending these out actually. I should be blessing people with them. So I'm going to get working on that. So this is the wardrobe and yeah, the cupboard door, it's still here. More on that in a little moment. Inside the cupboard, I have a lot of leftover junky things. This could probably do with more of a reset. This is the box of the Journal Say goodies that I organised earlier. And this tower is full of Hip Kit Club supplies. So many of their kits and so little time to create with them. It's very sad. Paintbrushes, lots and lots of paintbrushes in this one, and then vintage ribbons and trims. Oh wait, what was I saying about keeping all of that vintage ribbon and stuff into those other 3 boxes? I am officially inside the cupboard now. On this side, I have squeezed in another IKEA unit and more scrapbook pages in albums. These boxes down here have tech inside them. So all of my chargers, my iPad, all of that stuff. There is also kicking around in here some random things like phone stands for recording and things like that. This is my entire stash of cardstock. That's every piece of cardstock that I have. And then in here is specialty paper that I have been saving for a rainy day, which has never come. And then also stencils, big stencils, the 13 by 13 inch ones. And then this little pouch, this is also from Avery L, but it's in a smaller size. This pouch is filled with stencils as well. And this is actually totally random. This is my very small collection of Pokemon cards because I have fairly recently started to collect them. It's really just more paper. They're shiny cardboard. In here is pretty empty. That's the microphone I use for my voiceovers. And this box used to house all of those markers, but I did get an extra set and then they didn't fit. And I do want to keep them all together. So that's why the shuffle of those. I'm sure I'll find something to put in there very, very soon. A few more random supplies up the top here. These are the Journal Say extras. And then that middle box there, that is a box of Christmas supplies, which I could probably put in with those other Christmas goodies. These are supplies that people have gifted me. And also this is a project that is half started. It's a book that I was adding fabric to and creating like a junk journal / mini album book thing, which I started ages and ages ago and it's still not finished. Those are my color cubes. I made a video about those. They help you choose colors for a project. And then I'll quickly show you these drawers. These top 2 drawers are mixed media, so inks, blending brushes and such. And then it gets a little bit pear-shaped in here. This is sequins, photos. I do have coming, they didn't make it in time for the video. I've got a couple more extra containers like this that I'm going to put these sequins into. So that's next on my list. These are all Spiegelmum scrap sequins. I don't think she does them anymore. Some cards that some friends have gifted me and some random things. And then these bottom drawers are messy. They are very messy. So they're junk journaling things. They are random books that I want to upcycle. This is the foam that I use on my scrapbook layouts or when I want to add dimension to things. This is all vintage books, patterns, random, the magazines and things to cut out and add to stuff. Very, very randomy junk drawer. And then lucky last is this one, which has some more cards I have not sent out, my laminator, and even more cards I have not sent to people. I really need to get onto that. Okay, so I know. So many of you suggested that I take the door off, and I completely understand why. It would totally open up the space and it would make everything so much more accessible. Honestly, it would look amazing and I would have loved to remove it. I really would. But here's the thing. This room gets incredibly hot, not just because of my studio lights, but also because it gets hit with the western sun. And the air conditioner, it struggles. Anyone who's done any crafting in a hot climate will tell you that that's not fun. So until I can fix the air conditioning problem, the door has to stay. It's the simplest way to make this space as small as possible so that it does have a chance to cool down. So it is still on for now, but maybe not forever. And that's the reset done. I hope you're feeling as inspired as I am right now. Doing a reset just like this is so good for your space. But if you want to make sure it sticks and that you're not refilling the space with supplies you'll never use, be sure to watch this video next because I share surprising craft supplies I regret buying. Don't spend another cent until you watch it. Thank you so much for being here, my creative friend. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye. See you. Catch you later.